How is this process here in the US?
Totally different.
I was talking about your motivation when you told me why the hell you're doing it.
I can't pay rent and be calm.
Oh, I need to read this and this and this, and they kind of go.
Actually, about earthquakes possibility.
Here in Los Angeles, most of the time, you're gonna pay more money for your mortgage than you would be paying for your rent. So I'm waiting for my client to deliver her the keys. And honestly, this is one of the special transactions for me. It's not huge, it's a condo. It's a one-bedroom condo in Valley Village. It's a great area, but it's not about that. The client of mine, when I asked her, why are you thinking about buying anything right now? What is your motivation? Because I always want to know. And she told me a thing that nobody ever told me before. She said, you know what? I used to live in another country and my son, he had a home. And now we moved here to the US and I want my son to have home. It hit me so deep because everybody has different motivations, but if somebody has this particular motivation, if somebody wants to do it, not just for themselves, but for their family, for the loved ones, for her son, for her husband, that hits you different. You want to work for them twice as hard as you usually would. So this one is a very special transaction for me. And my client's gonna come in a minute. I'm gonna deliver her the keys. But this transaction is something else. I'm so happy and I'm so excited that these people get to own a place here in Los Angeles so soon. But with this motivation, you see the goal, you don't see any obstacles on the way. All in all, it's a very nice, clean place. And I'm sure they're gonna have a good life over here. It's probably not their last place, but the first one here in the US, and I'm just so goddamn excited for them. The other thing that I wanted to point out is key transfer, which sometimes could be nice, sometimes it could be a disaster. But when people really appreciate each other, seller and buyer, I mean, things work out smoothly. And I just wanted to show you how exactly this seller is transferring the keys. Everything is signed. Everything is delivered. The clickers, even the wash card that you could use for laundry purposes. Everything has a mark. This one says storage lock key. And the most interesting thing is when the seller was moving out, the seller offered us to leave some of the items behind. So my buyer really wanted that drawing. And it's an original, so the seller not only left that drawing, but also left a certificate of authenticity. That's the sign when people respect each other and appreciate each other. That's why this transaction happened, and that's why it was so successful and so pleasant. Because when people respect and appreciate each other, good things happen. Truly. Finally, Masha, you're here.
Yes, we are here and it's quite a small but beautiful place and I'm really glad to be here. And actually, I'm very appreciative to our realtor, Oleg.
You're way too nice. But honestly, I wanted to ask you just on a practical level, how was it? Because you bought real estate in Russia, you bought real estate in Turkey. Yeah. How is this process here in the US?
Actually, it is so individual for all countries, and it was my first experience in the USA, and it was totally different. First of all,
different, huh?
Like a first step when you try to get mortgage. you should have at least 2 years of experience working exactly here. In this case, we work with a mortgage broker, and Oleg really helped us with all this question and stuff, and he was my real support during these months of consideration of our mortgage. Yes, and it was not only about some professional advices, it was emotional support.
No, but honestly, I was right before you came in, I was walking around. I was talking about your motivation when you told me why the hell you're doing it. Because it's interesting. You know, for me, obviously everybody's buying real estate for different reasons, but I asked you why you're buying it, and you told me that you just wanted your son to have home.
It is my own peculiarity, just I can't pay rent and be calm. I should have something more stable for my life and for my son and for my family members, and that is why I decided after 1.5 years living in the USA to get this mortgage and buy our own flat. Of course, it is not such a huge apartment, but it is our first investment, and I hope my son will be really appreciated to have this.
He might be thinking it's a hotel.
Yes, as his own heritage later. And it was really very, very nervous, but Oleg explained every details during all the steps for us, because as I mentioned before, it's totally different as my previous experience. Because you should have lots of information about place. You should get lots of documents from management company, HOA company, and
you're actually one of the few people that I feel like read those. Because a lot of the time people are just kind of giving up. They're like, oh, I need to read this and this and this, and they kind of go, oh, fuck it, I just don't have time. What, you know, people would ask me like, what's the most important thing I would need to read? And I'm like, well, there's a couple of documents that you absolutely have to read, but you kind of need to familiarize yourself with this. I feel like you're one of the few people that actually kind of dove in and you did it. But did you feel like it was overwhelming?
Yes, it was. On the one side, it was interesting because there are many, some specific documents about different floods and so on, about different cataclysms, it can be possible here and so on. And I've never actually read such information, but...
so it's not like a part of disclosure when you buy in Russia? Because I've never bought in Ukraine, I've never bought anywhere else other than, I've bought in other states, but I've never bought anywhere outside of the US.
Actually, about earthquakes possibility, I've heard before in Turkey, of course.
Okay.
Yes, because
that's a big deal over there.
Yeah, it's big deals there. So it's quite a little bit the same for me. There are many documents about it and so on. But in general, it's totally different because of documents are different here. And Oleg actually sent me all documents and always explained me what is it, and it was interesting
because I can't explain and interpret it in a way like, hey, this is important or not, because I'm not a lawyer. Because you know, it's a very slippery slope, because when you start being like, oh, this one, don't worry about it, there's just a rat on under your house, oh, don't worry about it. It's not my job to explain and say, hey, this is something to worry about or not, but it's my job to kind of point out and say, hey, this is something to just make sure that you at least pay attention to.
Yeah, and actually when we finally got this mortgage, it was such a relief for me, because now I know that I can pay for my own mortgage and my own apartment, not for rent, because it is just like wasting money for me to not have your own flat and pay just for somebody's flat.
Well, because honestly, it's a big deal, because I would talk to people sometimes and, you know, try to explain to them why there could be a good reason for them to buy, but it always feels like I'm trying to push something, because, you know, people are thinking, oh, you're gonna make a commission out of me, so of course you want me to buy. But the reality is, here in Los Angeles, most of the time you're gonna pay more money for your mortgage than you would be paying for your rent.
Yeah,
but
so
the rent
like
is always
similar,
changing.
Actually, yeah, for now, for our situation, it's like equal.
Really?
I will pay the same amount of money, but for my own mortgage. And I'm actually always discuss it with all my colleagues and friends and so on. And after my example, many of them thinking about it and try to maybe get their mortgage later and so on. And I had this situation before in Russia too, because there are many people who can rent apartments during the whole life too, like similar to the US, but I guess it is just wasting money. And I'm really glad that many of my friends started to have mortgage, and all of them were really appreciated me after that, because after some period of time when rates for renting started to be higher and higher, but their rate for mortgage was fixed. Yes, they realized that after maybe 10 years they will not be able to pay this rent actually.
You know, the other cool thing that I would recommend you, I don't know whenever you guys would decide to get to it or not, but just paying a little bit more each and every month.
Of course.
Like, let's just say your mortgage is like $3,000. I mean, if this is absolutely maximum you can pay, all right, cool, just make sure you don't miss the payments. But if you have a chance to pay like $500 more a month, that sometimes would lower your payoff by like 10 years.
Of course, I know.
That's a really cool thing.
Yes, actually I've never paid my mortgage more than 5 years because of this additional money every time for reduction this amount of loan. Yes, and I will continue this practice here too, because especially for Los Angeles there are very limited options to start your own investment to apartments, because it's really expensive place. And of course, if I will have possibility to get one more mortgage, I will do it, because it is like my additional investment. And I don't know why people prefer just renting. Maybe they don't have some long-term plans, but I really have it. Maybe because I'm mother. I should think about my son's future, and I guess it is more stable investment, at least for me, because I prefer to get one more mortgage than to invest to somebody else, to some
pay somebody else's mortgage.
Cryptocurrency and so on. This is not my deal.
No, honestly, I'm very appreciative to you, to your family, because when I had this conversation with you a couple of weeks ago, when you told me why you're doing this, it really touched me. I really mean it. You know, I'm not just saying this because we're recording promotional video and I need to come across in a certain way. I don't give a damn. But it really touched me because people purchase real estate for many different reasons. And when somebody has a motivation of taking care of their family, it's just a different kind of level. Because I know you're not from here, I'm not from here. And I feel like a lot of the time, obviously purchasing real estate comes with a hustle. You know, you don't have a credit history, you don't have this, you don't have that, and you need to pay a little bit higher interest rate, and you need to, all of those things that, you know, some people that are just native and have regular W-2 jobs don't have to deal with. But you deal with this, and a lot of the time it would just put people away from buying, because you have to jump through a lot of hoops in order to actually get to the finish line. But when you have this motivation, to me, that's the reason why you guys finished it. And when I was having conversations with Nastya and Zhenya, they're like, I don't know, it's not looking that good. I'm like, no, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it because, like, if somebody has this motivation, we really need to go an extra mile, do whatever the fuck we need to do in order to make sure that these people actually, because they're not just buying it because they want to show off in front of their friends. Believe it or not, there's some people that would do that as well. And the conversation with them is different. But for you, I'm so happy.
And in sum up, our brokers and our realtor, Oleg, they created this miracle for us, because it was not enough actually years for my mortgage. But we did it, and I'm really glad and I'm appreciative.
Thanks a lot for your trust. Hey!